I've still got my fingers crossed that Guardian of the Witch will survive the axe. I know it's been unfortunately pretty low ranked. Maybe it's doing good digitally in the first volume will do well. I don't know. I'm still holding out hope because I do find the series interesting. I like the layout. I like the premise. I like the art. I think it's pretty good, even if it's not the best art. But this is the dude's first manga from what I've seen. He's got another one. I have to double check. But either way, like I think it's pretty solid at the start, and I've mentioned like I liked it the main characters. So there's a couple main characters, but the main protagonists really are you got Manasva and Fafnir. They seem to have more of a shared main spot, and you got some pretty good character stuff between them already, and we've seen a couple other characters. Like I like Drake. I think he's interesting. I like the backstory with the his witch. Jen, he was pretty all right, nothing crazy. But this new guy, Cloud, I think he's pretty cool. I like Cloud. I think he's interesting, and we were given a little bit of information about hinted at his backstory in this chapter and the last one. But his power too. I mean, gravity is just cool in general, and he's just like able to like pick up rocks and propel them with gravity. But while he's fighting Fafnir, he like uses like a gravity bind, just holds them in place, and then drops like 50 G's of gravity on him. So he's done like a spot of 50 times gravity, and Fafnir's still standing up. But the match itself, like they understand like where things are kind of getting dangerous. They're like, okay, we're gonna get out of here. Fafnir's still able to move only because he's got like the fire boots and just uses that to move forward. And then Manasva like just uses like explosion, separates them, and during that commotion they make a break for it. They're not trying to fight this guy right now. It was actually the thing that was kind of surprising though is like I thought they were going to be like running. Like Fafnir is like shooting like with the fire under his feet like Shinra, like as a living missile, and just they're riding it out of there. But they're more of like just discussing what the plan is to do. Like they're thinking like maybe they can try and explain the situation to the guy and get him on their team. But they're like, we can't really take the guy because he's the one protecting this town. His witch and said guardian are the frontline defense for any danger that goes on within this place. So they can't really bring him with them. But they still want to try and talk to him and try and share exactly what's going on, just to kind of see what they can do. That part I was like, I liked that they addressed something you'd probably wonder, like, why aren't they trying to get more guardians on their side and witches? Because obviously the witches with their spots of, eventually if you're going to lose control and become an evil, and then your guardians are going to have to kill you. And I doubt a lot of the guardians are going to want to do that because they seem to get generally pretty close to their witches. With Jen, it didn't seem like he really had anything close with this witch, but Cloud definitely does. Like you see, like he's known her since they were kids, and they actually had a very different kind of like back and forth, when they were young. And there's like this part where he's talking to the dude in charge of said village, and the guy's just kind of mad that they let these guys escape. Nothing that really was crazy about him. It seemed to be what you'd expect. Like, oh yeah, the guy in charge of where they are is unhappy with them for not doing what he wanted them to do, stuff like that. Pretty straightforward. What I liked is at the end when you're seeing, you see the witch of that village, Spica. She like takes off the bandage on her, and one of her eyes is like infected, and she's seems to be getting pretty out there when it comes to like where she's at with her evil seed. But you find out when they were actually younger, because they've known each other since they were, like I said, pretty young. So I'm guessing they both grew up in this village together. Like, the dude Cloud used to be like, used to be a rule breaker, used to be kind of just more free spirit. But at some point during, growing up, he became more of this very rule kind of, follow the rules the best they can, but figure out ways around certain situations if need be. Like, he's a pretty by the books guy. But I like that comment when he was like saying, when you were giving food to those people, you were, breaking the rules. I just did what I could in order to keep you and keep everything you were doing within the confines of the rules. Like, at some point, obviously, he shifted and he went a complete 180 of how he was. And obviously, it's got something to do with his backstory. because he even says like he's abandoned his the person he was when he was younger, and while doing it's not of just like, oh, I didn't want to be that guy. Like he's references Spica while he's thinking about it, so clearly it has something to do with her. Probably some event that made him, he messed up that put her in danger or something. Like, I can't do this again. I can't be as reckless. I have to, follow the books in order to, probably like keep her safe. Some event that maybe like almost killed her, and he's still like regretted it. Still like it still probably hangs over his head. I am looking forward to seeing the interactions when they go to talk to that girl Spica, because it's some of like the way that the characters like kind of interact, and their view of the witches and living, that I think is really interesting so far. I think that the series is pretty solid. It's definitely one that you would read at least early, and it's not like, man, this is crazy. It's just more like it's a solid series. It's fun. The art is pretty fair. I think the characters are pretty good, and like the system and layout of the world, like the powers and stuff, the setting, I think are pretty, like I said, solid, enjoyable, and I could see it building up pretty well, as long as it escapes the axis. One thing, like I said, I think the author does do well is have good connections between the Guardians of the Witches, because Jen and what was her name, Luri, they weren't too much, but I don't think they were supposed to. Fafnir and Manasva, I think they've got a pretty good like synergistic. I don't think it's the word. They got a pretty good like synergy between them. Obviously, we have like the one that had like a really good like setup, but failed in execution with Drake and his witch, and then one that's going to have much more of a history that shifted the character with Cloud and Spica. You can maybe even see with Cloud and Spica maybe set up like on that road to become like Drake and his witch, but it's going to be because Manasva and Fafnir that they're able to kind of like make it as a better spot for them, where they can salvage the situation and not go through that line of suffering. But I don't know. There's not a ton to talk about this chapter. Like the first chunk, it's got like some cool action and stuff. Like I said, I enjoyed that they mentioned something that you would expect. Like you're probably wondering, like, why aren't they trying to get people on their side? We know that they don't want to end up taking these witches and guardians away from where they're supposed to protect and stuff, but they still want to talk to them. I did like the part about Claude's character near the end. I thought that was really interesting, and I'm hoping that we can find out more about this guy. I got my fingers crossed, like I said, about the series, and I'm hoping it doesn't get axed. We'll see. I'm gonna ride it out to the end, regardless, just because even if it doesn't do well, I like it. I think it's pretty entertaining. But other than that, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts about the series. Do you at least agree, like, with some of my takes on it? Like, what do you think is like its weaknesses, but also what do you think its strong suits? Personally, I think its strong suits are some of the early characters. Obviously, we don't have a ton of characters to work with, but just what we have so far are still pretty good. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening.